Hi, this is Free Thinking Through the Fourth Turning. My name is Sasha Stone. Assassination Nation. The Democrats need a revival of decency. They came out, all of them, like Lady Macbeth crying out, "Damn spot!" Anything to distance themselves from the words of Tyler Robinson to his lover to justify the killing of Charlie Kirk. What was Charlie's big crime? He believed in the biological reality of men and women and refused to go along with what he thought was a lie. To Tyler Robinson, that meant he was spreading too much hate, and it could not be negotiated down. He was not having a mental collapse. He was not suicidal. He was a cold-blooded assassin, doing the bidding of fanatics whose fury had brought them to this deadly moment. And so Charlie had to die, because that's what happens to fascists. All of us who have been booted out of utopia for one reason or another knows what it feels like to have our characters assassinated by people who think their moral superiority means they have the right to be judge, jury, and now executioner of those who refuse to comply and conform. One wrong word and you're a racist. Even trying to stand up for someone being called a racist, like Megyn Kelly or Chris Harrison did, means they'll assassinate your character anyway, with no due process and no presumption of innocence. It was in 2020 that I could not take it anymore, this ugly, unending, bottomless dehumanizing of Trump and his supporters. Maybe it was my overabundance of empathy. Maybe it was that I'd been attacked, my character assassinated. Or maybe it was lockdowns, my dear friend and ex-boyfriend overdosing on heroin from loneliness, and my daughter moving across the country. Whatever it was, I felt the cold hand of evil every time I logged on, and I watched them unleash hell on one man, his family, his staff, and his supporters. Why are they doing this? I demanded of them. They must know what I know, that dehumanizing whole groups of people is never the right side of history, no matter what. But once they cast Trump supporters as racist white people, fascists, and Nazis, there were no limits on what they could say or do, but someone had to be lying. Why would millions of people have voted for Trump, including my brother, if he were as bad as the media said he was? And it turns out it wasn't just the media doing the lying. It was the Democrats too, and all of the good soldiers on social media going along with their lies. I used to be one of them. I went along with the lies too, because I thought we were fighting to defeat an existential threat. But by the end of it, all I could see was that we'd built an empire of lies, just like Bernie Madoff did, and that our empire would collapse just like his once people started to uncover the truth. It was always going to end up here, because that's how dehumanization campaigns always end. Lynchings in the Deep South, concentration camps in Nazi Germany, and the hangings in Salem. Or the Manson murders in 1969, the bombings of the Capitol in the 1970s, and now attacks on ICE officers. Here is Mark Halperin covering for Megyn Kelly.
A shooter opening fire on a Dallas, Texas ICE facility yesterday morning, killing one and injuring two before turning the gun on himself. Authorities confirming no law enforcement officers were injured in the attack. Instead, all three victims are ICE detainees, the two survivors now in critical condition. According to authorities, the attack occurring around 6:40 a.m. local time, a sniper positioned on a nearby rooftop began firing indiscriminately at the facility, including towards a van in a secured entryway. Fox News reporting the victims were inside the van when they were hit. Multiple news organizations identifying the shooter now as 29-year-old Joshua Yawn, his body found dead with a rifle nearby on a rooftop. Authorities recovering shell casings near his body. FBI Director Kash Patel releasing a photo showing one shell with the words anti-ICE written on the side. Special agent in charge of the Dallas field office, John Rothrock, at a press conference Wednesday morning.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas.
Special Agent Rothrock referencing there a July 4th attack on an ICE facility, at least 10 people armed with tactical gear and weapons allegedly attacking the facility, shooting a local law enforcement officer in the process. That officer is expected to recover from the injury. Yesterday's shooting marking at least the fourth violent incident or threat against a Texas ICE or Customs and Border Patrol protection facility this year, as President Trump ramps up immigration enforcement efforts, aiming to conduct the largest mass deportation effort in U.S. history. Democrats ramping up their rhetoric. Here, a sampling of some Democratic talking points from recent months.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that. This is not the Soviet Union. We're not behind the Iron Curtain.
When I see ICE, I see slave patrols.
We will continue to call out the terrorist organization that is ICE.
If everything is legitimate and proper, why are you wearing masks?
This is not Germany. That's the SS and the Gestapo.
They're acting more like vigilantes than of agents of our government.
Homeland Security reporting a 1,000% increase in assaults against ICE agents, including doxing campaigns, compared to the same period in 2024. In March, several ICE agents doxed in Southern California, leading to widespread use of masking by agents. Earlier this week, California Governor Gavin Newsom signing into law the so-called No Secret Police Act, attempting to ban law enforcement officers from covering their faces. Governor Newsom Tuesday on Stephen Colbert's late night show saying left-wing rhetoric on immigration enforcement is not hyperbolic.
Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process, no oversight, zero accountability happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic. If you're a black and brown community, it's here in this country. And so I'm deeply proud that I had the privilege of signing the nation's first bill to address the issue of masking, also to require you have simple identification, to your point. I mean, if some guy jumped out of an unmarked car in a van with a mask on, tried to grab me, I mean, by definition, you're going to push back. And so these are not just authoritarian tendencies. These are authoritarian actions by an authoritarian government.
Vice President J.D. Vance at a Wednesday event in North Carolina, slamming Democrats in the wake of the shooting, calling out Governor Newsom directly and by name.
It is time to stop the rhetorical assault on law enforcement. Because here's what happens when Democrats, like Gavin Newsom did, say that these people are part of an authoritarian government. When the left-wing media lies about what they're doing, when they lie about who they're arresting, when they lie about the actual job of law enforcement, what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell, and you have no place in the political conversation of the United States of America.
The violence has continued because it's barely been reported accurately. They only publicize killings if they fit the already prescribed narrative, like if a far-right white man opened fire. When it's on their side, they never address ideology. They say nothing when the hive mind indulges in a Trump death fantasy for an entire weekend. Or TikTok users begging for someone to just do it and become a hero. Or planning their celebrations for the day Trump dies. Where else did they think this was going? It wasn't just the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It was the response to the assassination. It was revealing because it showed just how delicious it all was for them. Why else would they have been celebrating and cheering? That's the itch they want to scratch. And they're just glad someone out there got the job done, so they didn't have to get their hands dirty. Oh, how good that feels when all you have are fantasies and words and cancel culture and shunning and screaming at, which then became spitting on and kicking and finally shooting.
Frank, it was the second time in just 2 months that a pro-Trump rally turned violent here at the Capitol, and now organizers are asking questions of protesters and police before they make plans to meet here again.
I thought it was going to be a good political event.
They looked forward to hearing lawmakers and supporters speak inside the Capitol to mark the president's first 100 days in office.
The two guys who were blocking me out grabbed hold of the back of my backpack and flung me down the stairs.
But John Wise and Dee Dee Buckley had no idea how hard it would be to get there.
I fell on my right shoulder, my right hip, and my right knee. What are you doing?
Wise says his cuts and bruises came shortly after another Trump supporter was pushed to the ground and kicked in the head.
Violence, that's what all of this was invented for, right? How else do you think you could get people to fight and kill in war? They came out on social media like flesh-eating zombies from a 1950s horror movie. We won't mourn a racist or a fascist, they insisted. It seemed to track alongside the decency of those whose humanity was still intact and who knew that we don't shoot people because they disagree with us. The more we all felt for Charlie and his family, the uglier the social media posts became. For podcast listeners, here is a sampling of a montage of tweets. From the actress Ellen Barkin, they would do well to remember that the Nuremberg rally was followed by the Nuremberg trials. From Machine Pun Kelly, it's sacrilege the way they are canonizing Charlie Kirk. Jesus didn't hate people. Charlie Kirk spread hate, not Christ. Christian Nightmares. The Charlie Kirk Memorial is a Christian nationalist political rally. And Winter Politics. The Charlie Kirk Memorial is just another Klan rally. And more. MAGA, we don't want you dead. We just want you to be smarter. No disrespect to the grieving. But it really seems like Erica Kirk has been waiting for this moment so she could take her place in the spotlight. Charlie Kirk's memorial service was very diverse. They had old white racists and young white racists. All I'm going to say is the universe gives you what you put out. America's Nuremberg rally, almost like we're living in 1935. Charlie Kirk spread a lot of hate, and look where it got him. Don't worry, fellow liberals, there are thousands of us in Arizona who aren't celebrating the life of a racist today. Raise your hand if you didn't cry today because a racist and bigot had died. They could not absorb what happened to America, so it had to be Charlie's fault. Out damn spot. For podcast listeners, a post from Amanda Seyfried. You can't invite violence to the dinner table and be shocked when it starts eating. Amanda Seyfried then backed away and gaslighted like they always do, deflecting blame, bringing up other acts of violence to lessen what just happened to America. She says, I can get angry about misogyny and racist rhetoric and also very much agree that Charlie Kirk's murder was absolutely disturbing and deplorable in every way imaginable. No one should have to experience this level of violence. This country is grieving too many senseless and violent deaths and shootings. Can we agree on that at least? But this was it. The moment people like her and the Democrats, along with their influencers, could have stood up, led by example, and said enough. Hollywood, the left, the Democrats have never looked uglier. Try as they might to reclaim their moral superiority, their reaction to Charlie's death said it all. Even if many of them did not go along with it, the fact that they haven't stood up against it makes them culpable for that and everything that's coming next. Charlie did not incite violence. He did not spread hate. He stated his opinions while listening to the opinions of others. It is his opinions they don't like, because those are strictly verboten inside Utopia. You must believe what they believe, speak like they do, or else. They've never figured out the ugly truth, that they are the fascists. As this TikTok user brilliantly explains.
Looked up fascist because it's another thing that people slandered Charlie Kirk as being, right? Even the assassin put "Hey fascist" on the bullet casing cartridge. And once again, I'm in disbelief. Because the people claiming that Charlie Kirk is a fascist are themselves the fascists. A fascist is a dictator and somebody that forcibly quiets opposition from people, like doesn't listen to their opinions and like with threat and violence will quiet them, right? Charlie used to go to colleges and give the dumbest people the mic and let them talk for a long time. Sometimes when I was watching him debate, I'd be like, Charlie, just tell him to be quiet. Get him off the mic. So he was an anti-fascist. And the people that literally supported and cheered him for being killed are supporters of fascism. Essentially, right? Because they forcefully quieted an opinion that they did not agree with, or supported the quieting of an opinion that they did not agree with. Make it make sense.
Charlie's death was a test, one they failed. They spent all of their decency cred turning Jimmy Kimmel into a martyr for free speech. As the news was breaking that the Biden administration forced YouTube to censor and demonetize those who would not use preferred pronouns or dare to doubt the results of the 2020 election. Kimmel cried, so what? Kimmel got high ratings, so what? Nothing could clean them of the stench. Out damn spot.
I know a lot of y'all think that we can't see the real reason why y'all are doing this about Charlie Kirk. I'm gonna tell you why you're doing this about Charlie Kirk. I'm gonna say it right now. You're hoping to get that stench off you. See, I'm gonna repeat Greg Gutfeld for a second. Y'all hoping to get that stench off of you. See, see, Charlie been dead for a week. And everybody now knows exactly who their real friends and their real enemies are. Y'all have forced the friend-enemy distinctions on us. Y'all have forced the friend-enemy distinctions onto everybody. Y'all will never know what it's like to wake up one morning and realize that half your coworkers fucking hate you and are celebrating the death of someone you respected, knowing damn well that you've got views very similar to his and would probably celebrate if you got ventilated that same way. Y'all will never have to deal with that. Y'all will never have to deal with that. But the thing is now, you're acting like people don't see what you did. Everybody knows that you've been out here partying up. You've rolled around in this man's blood. And people smell it. They don't like the smell. They don't like seeing what they've seen out of you. And now you think because you yell pretty fucking loud about some late night talk show host, you think that's supposed to you think that's supposed to win hearts and minds? After we saw what you celebrated the shedding of innocent blood. And now you want to pretend like nobody sees you. God sees you. God sees you. Y'all, and you know what? Out of everything, and I'm going to leave you with this. The biggest problem right now is that y'all are operating without any fear of God, without any fear of consequences. You have literally operated at the privilege of the state. You have operated with the impunity that being on the side of all of the institutions and being on the side of the state gets you.
After they destroyed and ripped up their version of Charlie, the high wore off. Hungry for more, they went after his wife, Erica. And these tweets received hundreds of thousands of likes, which is why they appear at the top of everyone's feed. Each time you are given a choice, flesh-eating zombie or decency. Now she was a woman who was acting, who didn't shed a single tear. They dug into her past and found a bikini pic of her from the days as Miss Arizona and somehow connected her to Trump. For podcast listeners, a montage of truly vile tweets about Erica Kirk. Some samples include: no agony on her face, it's clearly a show. Not a trace of tears in sight. And about Charlie, it's insane how ugly he was. And another tweet: all right, now let's get back to what is actually important. And a picture of Charlie Kirk with Trump's Epstein drawing carved into his face. Charlie Kirk is an actor, Erica Kirk is an actor, Donald Trump is an actor, Tyler Robinson is an actor. It's all staged. And on it goes. If you'd like to see them, you can look at the graphic on the site. Nothing could clean them of the stench of Charlie's blood, no matter how hard they tried to rewrite the narrative that they were the good guys fighting the actual Nazis. They have to reckon with the truth about who Charlie really was, and then ask themselves whether these tweets, this decade-long dehumanization, mean they had nothing to do with it, and even now must continue to pummel Charlie's reputation when he's not even here to defend himself. For podcast listeners, a tweet from Scott Adams. Democratic leaders are 100% to blame for recent violence against Republicans. The individuals who commit the violent acts have to take the legal consequences alone. That is our system, and no other system would work. But none of them cooked up their opinions on their own. Even if they were brainwashed by peers, the peers got it from the news and the Democratic leaders. Complex actions don't happen without ideas. The ideas arrive in the form of words. Newsom and Hillary and other loathsome Democratic leaders created our dangerous situation with words, Nazis, etc. And they're obviously aware of their actions. So far, the leadership of the right has not responded in kind, probably because of moral and ethical limits. Let's hope it stays that way. The Democrat Party is in full collapse, so I expect more violence as their last resort." End quote. The legacy media knew 10 years ago that violence was rising on the left in response to Trump as a direct result of the messages they were sending. They were not telling us the truth. Not then, not now.
Brian and Ainsley, it was an ugly scene yesterday afternoon in San Jose when several hundred protesters targeted Donald Trump's supporters after his rally. And this video gives you an idea of what it was like for some of those folks as they tried to leave. This woman wearing a Trump shirt tried confronting some of the protesters and started taunting them when she had eggs thrown at her face. Watch how grown men stood there screaming at her and cheering.
Katrina Pearson, national spokesperson for the Trump campaign, and Richard Faller, a nationally syndicated radio talk show host and senior fellow at the New Leaders Council. Richard, I'll start with you. Why don't we see liberals act more aggressively when it comes to condemning violence like this?
Well, what we saw in San Jose, what we saw a couple nights ago in Berkeley, it's wrong, right? Violence should never be tolerated. But what should be allowed is peaceful protest, people saying and speaking their mind. That's our First Amendment right. And that's what those folks are doing. When they go to violence, it's wrong, and they should be arrested. They're thugs. It's awful.
And
we've seen Hillary Clinton say that. We've seen Bernie Sanders say that. We've seen we've seen senators say that.
It took them a while.
Over what they
Bernie
said it, though,
Sanders,
Trish.
just moments ago, said
said
something in response when he was asked about it. Hillary Clinton needed to be asked about it. Katrina Pearson, why aren't the two leading candidates in the Democratic Party coming out, taking a stand and saying enough with the violence?
Well, you know, Trish, it's simple. The media is not asking them to. This started with the Chicago rally. We know for a fact there were left organizations participating in this. Bill Ayers himself was there and reporting on the ground. MoveOn.org was involved. Black Lives Matter was involved. There were tons of left organizations since that rally, and these protests have done nothing but escalated. And you played a clip earlier that was absolutely right. These types of intimidation tactics have gone on in this country for years, and it's always by the left. and somehow they want to put the
Katrina.
blame on Donald Trump.
Stop.
And we're just not going to let that happen.
Let me jump in and just ask you, Katrina, if it had been supporters for Donald Trump that were out at a Hillary Clinton campaign rally, and if they had acted like that, if they had thrown eggs at someone, if they were burning flags, if they were insulting police, how would things be different right now?
Well, first of all, there'd be a petition to have Donald Trump withdraw from the race and everybody else fired. A Trump supporter could have just a sign that the left doesn't like, and all of a sudden they'll be labeled all these things or even attacked for that matter. There is a double standard in this country.
Some of them want to pat themselves on the back for finally noticing and writing stories about what people on the right have been talking about for years. For podcast listeners, a headline from The Atlantic: left-wing terrorism is on the rise. For the first time in more than 30 years, attacks by the far left outnumber those by the far right. And Matt Walsh imagines what would have happened if all of this had gone the other way.
Imagine, if you can, that Kamala Harris had won the last election. In other words, imagine that the same Democrats who ran the Biden administration, the operatives who hunted down the January 6th defendants, who wrote Biden's speeches declaring that MAGA Republicans are the greatest terror threat in the entire country, who launched criminal prosecutions of Donald Trump and his senior advisors, are all still in power. And now imagine that a right-wing radical shoots and kills one of the most influential liberals in the country on camera. And imagine that tens of thousands of other conservatives, just normal people, airline pilots, teachers, politicians, everybody, shamelessly celebrate the assassination and openly call for more of them. And now imagine that in the same week, yet another right-winger shoots up a country club while shouting MAGA, and another right-winger shoots up a news station and leaves behind a manifesto complaining about liberal bias in the media. And then imagine that a Trump supporter plants a bomb underneath one of MSNBC's broadcast vans. And now imagine that a week after all of those attacks, a conservative sniper perched on a rooftop fires into a Planned Parenthood clinic, killing or injuring multiple people. And then imagine that this Planned Parenthood attack was just the latest in a string of them, stretching back several months. Now, in this scenario, is there any doubt how Democrats would respond? Is there any doubt at all that they would wage a full-scale war on conservatives? Have people like me frog marched in front of cameras and handcuffs and leg irons? Is there any doubt that they would declare martial law and label all right-wing expression incitement? Is there any doubt that they would be rounding up conservatives as we speak by the busload and shipping us to Gitmo? Is there any doubt that they would have Fox News and every other conservative media company shut down and its executives arrested or sued into bankruptcy? Now, I asked this question yesterday on social media. It generated a lot of reaction. Will Cain mentioned it on his show on Fox News. But actually, this hypothetical really doesn't go nearly far enough in describing the extent of the left-wing terror campaign that's underway in this country.
The Democrats need a revival of decency. What if Obama or Hillary or any of them had the courage and, yes, the decency to say enough? Enough! It's time to put our weapons down because a man was just shot in the neck for no other reason except that he didn't agree with the left. What if they could say that? What if they could have their own revival, a revival of decency? What if that was the message Jimmy Kimmel gave? What if the Democrats made speeches in Congress and that was the message? What if they apologized to all of us for lying about half the country for 10 years? What if they said it was wrong to call other people Nazis and fascists? The best they can muster, because even they know how bad this looks, deep down they know, is to both sides it, as Hillary does here.
We have got to stop demonizing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I think most of that right now in our country's history is coming, from the right, coming from people who want to dominate. They want their point of view. Writing out slavery from history, that doesn't make it go away. We have got to stop with the finger pointing and the scapegoating.
And rather than focus on themselves and what they've done, They've had Trump to use as their dumping ground, and they're addicted to the daily ritual. That's the only purpose Jimmy Kimmel serves now, and John Oliver, Stephen Colbert, and the legacy media and Hollywood. But you have to ask, when is it enough? 10 years of nothing but blaming Trump, of hating and bullying people who might not agree with their increasingly cult-like doctrine, with no one in the Democratic Party to call them out or tell them to stand down, no one in the media either. And if no one tells them that it's wrong, why would they stop? They've lost everything. Their numbers are in the toilet because Americans can't stand them anymore. The death of Charlie Kirk and their reaction to it have only made it worse. Here is a montage of TikTokers.
When are people going to realize you just can't win with a liberal? They're going to hate you no matter what you do. Charlie Kirk's memorial was the other day. At the memorial, his wife, Erica, is up there giving a speech, and she's talking about how she forgives Charlie's killer. She essentially says, I forgive this man because that's what my faith teaches me to do. And what happens next? All of the lefties in the comment section start blasting her. The Oscar goes to, this is acting. Do people actually believe this? Something is off. Did she even love him? You just can't win with people like this. First they were saying, this is a time to unite. Lower the temperature. Don't respond with violence. We do that. His wife does that. Lowers the temperature, says, I forgive the killer. And then she gets attacked. People are calling her a fraud. But if she responds in an authentic way and has rage and anger, right? You're going to say the far right is violent.
I actually might lose a couple of followers for this one, but I truly don't care what side of the line you fall on your feelings towards Charlie Kirk. If you're condoning someone getting shot in the neck for having a debate and speaking his mind and just having an opinion in general, I don't know if we can rock together like that. It truly is kind of sad that anyone with an opinion this now can't really voice that out and talk about something they want to talk about. Because that's what we're doing right here, right? We're having a conversation. I'm speaking my mind and my opinions, and we're just seeing if we align with that or not. And if you don't align with it, you can leave. And if you do, then you stay. That's how it works. You don't have to hurt somebody. So.
Good morning. My feed has been so full with everything going on. Charlie Kirk. Everyone's talking about it. But I want to give you guys a different aspect on it. And it's really hard to see the better of humanity. But, I think that a lot of people on the left, or I don't know a lot, a good number, a good number, they're choosing to leave the left. They're saying, fuck this shit. This is enough. Look at what the left are doing. They're being measured by what they're doing. They're being measured by what they're posting. They're being measured by what they're saying.
Labeling Charlie as a racist, misogynistic, homophobe isn't criticism. It's character assassination with the goal of censorship. They didn't just assassinate him physically. They want to assassinate his legacy too. But we won't let them. They'll twist your words into lies in order to silence anyone who dares to speak the truth, justify their violence, and celebrate your death while dragging your name through the mud.
It has been a clarifying moment for many of us, who might have been holding out hope that something this horrific might finally pierce the mass delusion that has taken us to this very dark place. The problem with what we built, our utopia, oh so long ago, at the dawn of social media, the iPhone, and our God and King, Barack Obama, was explained best by Milan Kundera in his book, The Book of Laughter and Forgetting. Quote, totalitarianism is not only hell, but all the dream of paradise. The age-old dream of a world where everybody would live in harmony, united by a single common will and faith, without secrets from one another. André Breton, too, dreamed of this paradise when he talked about the glass house in which he longed to live. And if totalitarianism did not exploit these archetypes which are deep inside us and rooted deep in all religions, it could never attract so many people, especially during the earlier phases of its existence. And once the dream of paradise starts to turn into reality, however, here and there people begin to crop up who stand in its way. And so the rulers of paradise must build a little gulag on the side of Eden. In the course of time, this gulag grows even bigger and more perfect, while the adjoining paradise gets even smaller and poorer." End quote. Having an insulated, isolated utopia where the rest of America is locked out allows everyone to play the part they want. E. Jean Carroll gets to pretend she was defamed and walk away with almost $100 million. Jimmy Kimmel gets to pretend he's a good guy, never meant to smear MAGA, and receives glowing headlines in the wake of it. Kamala Harris gets to pretend she ran a successful campaign, but America was too racist and sexist to vote for her. I used to think this was our biggest problem, this two-tiered society, their castle in the sky. But after Charlie, now it is so much worse than that. And why can't they see what they've become? Why can't they see where it has taken us? And perhaps it was the immense outpouring of love for Charlie, the overwhelming grief of so many people, and the admiration for the impressive movement he built, which helped change the country and elect a president that made them feel a little bit jealous.
This is such a huge boon for Wisconsin.
Breaking news: Florida just counted their votes again for fun.
They did it 3 times. They've already done it 3 times.
Tyler, who is the last Republican to hold that seat?
Oh gosh, Brett probably.
Brett,
guys, they just called it. They just called it for Pennsylvania, Charlie. It has
Fox
been called.
just called.
I'm just reporting it. Let's go, baby!
Charlie,
we got
what
Trump
is the
back
number?
In the White House.
What is the number
Is that it?
on that bar?
Is that it? Are they going to actually count the votes in Arizona now because they've given up?
Fox News decides Donald Trump is president of the United States. We've got our republic back, folks.
This is
Let's
it.
go!
Everyone stand up. Let's go! We're not going back. We're not going back.
Fox called it right there.
Holy cow,
God
baby.
bless America.
You gotta believe it.
They call Pennsylvania.
PA, put us over the top.
Is the
Charlie,
president going to speak now?
I who's saying that Fox called it? I'm sure they did, but
we're seeing Fox call it live.
Everyone's
Charlie,
saying it.
Let me give you credit from right here in Pennsylvania. You were the guy, you and Tyler, convinced me. You said, Cliff, stop door knocking across the country, go back to your home state, own Pennsylvania. That will be the deciding factor. I thought you guys were nuts. We knocked 500,000 doors. We delivered Pennsylvania. And now we've got our country back. Let's do this, baby. Come on.
They don't have anyone like that on the left because they can't do what Charlie did. They can't have conversations with people they see as Nazis. And sooner or later, the mass delusion will come to an end. It always does. Those who believe themselves to be better than half the country will have to face the truth about who they are. The only question is how bad it will get before they do. Thank you for listening to my podcast, SashaStone.com. And remember, to thine own self be true.
There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. Time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. What a field day for the heat. side.